It's Gabriel.
It's Bailey.
And this is CYMK.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, good to be here.
On our podcast. We had asked Orna, but I'll ask you, have you been on any podcasts or many podcasts?
No, so this is new.
Oh, good. That's fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, who are we speaking with here today?
McKay Otto.
Awesome.
And I was like, and Bailey and Gabriel.
And you have been in our recent exhibition at the San Angelo Museum of Fine Arts.
That's right.
All right.
We're up through May the 21st. It's been extended.
Oh,
yes,
really?
yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this will get out.
And I wanted to extend our thanks from the museum for coming in at such a weird transitional time for us, with the roof being replaced and our galleries being closed, and helping us, have a successful exhibition at this weird time. So
transition. That darn hail. It was a hailstorm
awful.
that did wonders to your
to our poor little roof.
And my car is still dented.
Is it really?
It is, yeah.
Somebody hit the back of my car a long time ago, like a year ago, and there's a dent. Do you think I can say it was hail?
It was, Put it in with the roof, actually.
You may try.
You can try. They'll be like, why did a golf sell?
Insurance, don't listen to this episode.
You have insurance fraud. That's not real. It's fine. Okay. So I really just want to talk about, broadly, your series. How many series do you have with your art?
It fluctuates. The dark wall suspended pieces, that's a series called If What. And I just finished number 48 yesterday, in fact.
Oh my goodness.
In that series. But there's a What If. Interesting how things come to you if you just open your mind to it. And I had a collector that had this incredible Ed Ruscha. And Ed he's just the best word person in the world, I guess. Well, they had an Ed Ruscha in their entry hall, and I couldn't get my eyes off of it.
Oh.
It had 3 words in it. If, there, when.
Okay.
And at lunch one day, I asked my collector, I said, you wouldn't consider a trade, would you? 3 seconds later, we were shaking on it.
Oh, my goodness.
So the if, I just finished a painting. So what if, keeping everything in the question, and if it's a great question.
Yeah.
So these are this whole series is based coming off of that if, but if what?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Keeping it in the question.
Uh-huh.
Do you kind of associate that if what to your art too? Like, what can I do to push the limits and boundaries of art? Is that what you kind of feel like?
Well, it's a human thing. We all sort of, the human mind sort of stops itself with rules and limits. As we grow up, we come to believe in a lot of things that are not real.
Mm.
And then they prevent us from getting to the real things. I think if really pushes the limit out there, keeps it in the question. And I never answer anything. Great art should never answer it.
Yeah, I like
it's
that.
always in the viewer.
Right.
It kind of makes the viewer push that boundary themselves and just kind of explore, well, what does he mean by that? And you never know what they're going to come up with after they think about that for a minute. So,
You know what's so interesting? No two people see anything alike.
yeah.
I'm not a young artist. I've paid my dues with many, many years. And through the years, I've never had two collectors see a piece the same way.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Because what is art, or any of us? We're the sum total of our life.
Yeah.
You know, our life story. We each have a different life story. Mm-hmm. And so if you can communicate a question in a life story, you leave it open to each individual to have their own experience.
Oh, yeah. That's lovely.
And that makes art even more like personable.
Individual, personable, yeah.
To the viewer. That's really nice.
Which is always exciting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Really?
Which is even more interesting when you get more abstract, is because they can come up with so many things, you know?
Yeah.
So I did want to talk about the importance of light in your work and it being a focal point for this exhibit specifically. Do you want to tell me kind of how that came to be a theme?
It's interesting how light affects all art. I mean, when you think of it, everyone that's creating is working with light. But my practice became very focused with light and what I could do with it, being challenged by making commitments. You know, you live in life and you make a commitment to go a certain direction. Mm-hmm. And when you think you're going in that direction, guess what? Life will have you going in another direction. Right. For me and in my life's journey, I had a near-death experience, out-of-body experience in the 1980s.
Wow.
And I had 3 seconds to get back in this body.
Whoa.
And in that 3 seconds, I made a commitment to spend the rest of my life working with light.
Oh, my goodness.
Being a light worker in art, which in many ways can change the way someone feels. It can change the way people look at themselves. Mm-hmm. And light, we're all nothing but light vibrating. Mm-hmm. I had the great fortune of being mentored by an amazing artist, Agnes Martin, and that happened in the 90s. And she kept telling me, she said, you know, I've been doing horizontal, vertical lines on a 2-dimensional plane, and I don't know how to go beyond it. She said she couldn't sculpt, but she sure could paint and do great things with that. We talked a lot about Rothko and how he was trying to reach the ethereal.
Oh, yeah.
Agnes was touching beauty, and beauty is the ethereal. Mm-hmm. We try to touch it, but you can't touch it.
Yeah.
We try to see it, and it's infinite and yet impossible to really touch. The closest thing we have in our life experiences are sunsets, sunrises, rainbows, smoke. All of these things are ethereal. Mm-hmm. About as ethereal because they're reflection. And so my work is it's been refined to the point of reflecting color with light, so that the paintings themselves and the light boxes that I incorporate into the sculpture, they literally are painting themselves with reflected light. You look at them, they're white paintings, But the way my process works, I'm able to get color in there, and the color literally reflects on the white surface and creates an ethereal thing that you can't touch. Mm-hmm. And guess what? You can't paint it. It can only be reflected. Agnes always told me, she said, look at that. It's a direct reflection on a two-dimensional surface. It's a direct reflection. How do you go beyond that?
Oh, wow.
And I spent years, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? In the question. And I realized that these great artists were trying to get that reflection, which is impossible if it's a direct reflection off a two-dimensional surface. So I incorporated the third dimension. And that's what you're... And again, it's really hard to grasp, because what does the human mind do? We go into rules and limits. And if you're going to do something new, you've got to be ready to hear those whispers.
When I first went to your opening and I saw your pieces, I didn't know there were words like within the pieces. And I feel like I was very limiting myself to just seeing the bright hues and the colors, or the muted hues or the pastels. And so that's really interesting that you say that, because now I can look at your work later in the talk today and actually like engage with it. So that's really interesting.
It's a new way for us to look at. And, I had these words.
They're hidden well.
You don't even know they're there until it's dark. And I had a solo show at the Nave Museum a few years ago, and they bussed in all of these children, buses from, first graders, second graders, fourth graders, fifth graders. In one of the galleries, we'd cut off the lights, but we would prepare the children. We'd say, any of y'all afraid of darkness? And then there would be some hands come up. And we would say, you're getting ready to experience something that will change the way you look at darkness for the rest of your life.
Oh, how nice is that?
And so I'd say, close your eyes. And then we'd cut off the lights and then I'd say, open your eyes. And they would open them to all of this magical, wonderful mystery of light and darkness. Not one got scared. And we're talking hundreds of kids. Not anyone got scared. And you could hear a pin drop. It got so quiet. And then every time one of the kids would say, hey, can we do it again? And then they would start chanting, do it again, do it again.
Oh my gosh.
And after 4 or 5 times of going through this, it was interesting. I know we changed the energy for some of these youngsters where they'll never be afraid of going into a dark room and going to sleep at night or anything like that.
That actually leads me into one of the questions I had written down. So for some of your sculptures that emit the light, does it bother you at all, or would it bother you if somebody wanted to use it functionally as like a lamp or an installation that lights up a dark room?
Okay. Interesting question, because, okay, think about it. The minute I run an electric cord or a light in there, the magic is gone. What is a light bulb? It is it's a human-made object. So that ability to attract and harness that energy of the light so that it comes out in darkness would be lost.
Oh, wow.
And so you'd never have the magic. I've thought of Dan Flavin's work in the fluorescent lights and all, how they'll take over a room. It's all light bulbs. And my practice is just the reverse. It's to create that magic of what you don't expect, to hide a message in a painting. I was just reading something, Basquiat did some of this with fluorescent paint.
Oh, really?
He would hide messages. Well, I feel like, wow, I've been doing it longer than him, so do not borrow that. But, it came out of a dream. My mentor one day said, go in the art supply store and pick out a paint that you can use the rest of your life. And I love to share this with young artists because we sometimes get so unfocused with trying so many different things that we don't focus into one thing. I came out of the store and she laughed at me. She said, what is the paint? I said, it's this glow stuff. And why did you? What is it? That's crazy. I said, well, I'm a crazy artist. And what would an artist do? Well, life experience. When I was growing up, my hero was Superman. And what did he have? He had fluorescent krypton.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's a life experience that has come into my practice. And everything has this hidden magic in it. I would take little studies to my mentor, and she would say, go burn it.
Oh.
Don't throw it in the dumpster. Someone may find it. It's so bad.
What?
And I'd say,
about your
why?
studies?
Yeah, my little studies with this glow paint.
Yeah.
And what I was doing, I was directly applying it to a two-dimensional surface. And what is that? It's still glow paint.
Yeah.
And one of the two things that I work with is, does it transcend you to other worlds? And does it transcend the material?
Oh.
So it has, I meant transport you. It has to, for my work, it has to transport you, it has to transport me to these other dimensions, the other worlds that are all around us here.
And so
we just don't see them.
Your studies weren't doing that?
No. Looked at them and she said, it's just glow paint.
Yeah. Okay.
It didn't transcend the material. And so I've applied that in many aspects, because when you're looking at those paintings, you're essentially looking, and I'm going to quote one of the top patent attorneys. He was a top patent attorney for Exxon that spent a year trying to find a translucent canvas. And he came to my studio and he said, it doesn't exist. You have just created the world's first transparent, translucent canvas. Think about it. You can't go out and buy this.
Right.
To this day, it's not a material that's out there. He said, you can patent it and make a lot of money. Well, it's never been about the money. It's about the energy and the light and how I can share this with humanity and make a difference. It's not about the money. we tore up the patent.
Oh wow.
And there are some secret ingredients, and I happen to own the world's supply of one of them.
What on earth? Wow.
It's would be pretty hard for anyone
of
to
like
do.
the paint or of the canvas or
The secret ingredient. You can't say.
Yeah, mystery.
It's a mystery. I didn't know I asked.
You gotta stay in
That's
the mystery.
pretty cool. Yes. Wow.
So when you go back tonight,
But is that what makes your pieces look so, just like unreal? Is that what it is? Because just the strokes are so airbrushed almost, and everything is just very soft and like tranquil. And
It's the magic.
Is it the?
It's the magic.
Is it the secret ingredient?
Yeah.
it's a combination. It's a combination. It is the process, and so if it's going to transport you. And if it's going to be and if I'm going to work with this thing called ethereal, well, it's not airbrushed, but I've got to make it.
It looks airbrushed.
I've got to make it.
Yeah.
I've got to take that human touch, the artist's touch, away from it as much as I can.
Interesting.
It's impossible to totally do it, but... But, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I grew up in an environment where anything is possible. And I think that's where artists have to be. It's if you can still your mind and get away from your ego, you can hear that whisper of the universe, which is the magic, and it comes and goes, and a lot of times you think it's an accident. Oh, guess what? There are no accidents. It's the little bitty accidents. That's where you really need to go with your work. We call them accidents because I said something earlier that our mind tends to try to go to the rules and the limits. So if you're going to do something new and it be your voice, because that's what every artist is trying to do. We're each trying to get to our voice. And everybody has a voice, but we live in this world that is... so active. There's so much going on that we don't take enough time to get still enough, quiet enough. I mean, I have friends that say, oh, I'm relaxing. Well, they've got music on, or they've got
a podcast playing.
Having the CYMK podcast playing? It's crazy.
So, anyway, I'm having
totally
fun. Are y'all having fun?
I am, yeah.
Thank you. This is a very enlightening conversation. I'm really enjoying it. Yes.
I really get what you're saying there, because every time I'm working on art or focusing on something, I have a video playing in the background and music playing, and I'm also working on something else, and I'm triple multitasking. And to really focus on my art, I shouldn't be doing that. I should be, like you said, finding my own voice and my own magic, which is inspirational, honestly. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's really cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Whenever I just like work on my stuff, it's always just like to get it done, honestly. Or it feels like there's always a deadline when it comes to making pieces, and then it shouldn't have to be about that.
Yeah, there should be. Well, think about this. We live in a world that's so competitive. Sports, you name it. Everybody's out there competing, and to do great art, you can't compete. There cannot be any competition in there. It has to be inspired, but it's that be and do. You got to be, which is the inspiration, But if you don't follow it up with the do, if there's not that aspiration, nothing gets done. So a lot of times, if there's too much going on, I always found that it was easy to get sidetracked. And I don't allow, there's no phone in my studio. There's no iPhone. There's no music. There's nothing. And when I've had assistants helping me, there is no talking. You telecommunicate. You just know. You get to the point where you don't even have to ask, you know.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Like, I bet that just feels good. Like, I don't know. I can imagine it feeling good.
To connect in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have a choice. We can either feel good or feel bad. And art is that way. There's no in between. It either feels good or it feels bad. And to feel good, it's, I dare say it, it's got to be beautiful. It's got to be loving and beautiful, because that's where there's no fear. You got to remove that fear and anger, and for it to be beautiful. And so that's with working with the light and trying to just capture a second of that ethereal. Boy, you've got to be, there can be no distraction.
Right. You have to really be in the moment to get there.
Whenever you choose what words you're going to put within your paintings, what makes you choose the words or the phrases you use?
Okay, that's a good question. Question. It's got to stay in the question.
The what or the if what question?
It just has to stay in the question. Like I just finished 4 paintings that I've been working on for 2 months.
Wow.
And one of them is both ways. The title of the painting is Ever Go Both Ways? Ever? Because in our private collection, we have this, it's a road sign. It was done by Wayne Gilbert, a wonderful artist in Houston. And it's a sign, and the arrows go both ways. And I think about that. Life, just think we're always at that point of could go both ways. And then we make that choice. Life is a series of choices. So I just said both ways. What does that mean? Stays in the question. Another one is, so what if? So what if?
I like the questions. How it's like the open-ended, and it's up to the viewer to determine. That's really interesting.
I did a commission, and the commission was connect. That was her word. Connect. Connect to what? You know, there's that what if, all of that. One word can do it. One of the paintings that I just, of the 4, is one word, wishing. The word wishing, which is so big.
Yeah.
It's so big.
I like the general nature of picking a word and just kind of seeing where inspiration brings you. That would be a good like art exercise for like anybody just messing around, you know. But yeah, you could like, I think with imagery. So like I know you work abstractly, but I work more representationally. So I'm in my head thinking of like, well, what could be wishful, like a wishing well, you know. But I'm sure your mind goes in a different place, which is where we get so many different crazy pieces and ideas and artwork. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Back to your fluorescent colors. So how the the glow paint was too much? Was that, would you say, for the study? Did you ever use like glow in the dark, or not glow in the dark, glow sticks? Did you ever use glow sticks?
No, I haven't. Again, trying to stay focused.
On the theory.
It's interesting because people, at openings and everything, this happened here actually at the opening. A gentleman who was a geologist came up and he said, "Have you ever tried this material?" He went off to his truck and brought the material back. But when I saw the reflection, it wasn't the type of reflection I needed. It would be like, I've got a big show coming up in Rockport, Texas, October, November of this year. And I'm doing some 16-foot paintings, 4 inches wide.
Wow.
But it's interesting, the curator, we were dealing with it, and you look at these pieces and you think, oh my goodness, Dan Flavin fluorescent, and they're nothing but reflected color, light on white. And they just are going to color just a reflected part on the wall outside of the paintings. And so I'm not trying to imitate Dan Flavin. I'm trying to do McKay here. And I think they're going to be very interesting because I've never seen anything like, if you've seen it, it's interesting. If it's in a book, if you've been to an art opening or a museum, if you've seen it, it's already been done.
Mm-hmm. It's so hard to be original.
It's already been done.
I don't think there's anything wrong with getting that inspiration, because I feel like at this point it's so hard to, like how you said, but no, you said you did that before Basquiat.
but to be like original.
Yeah, everyone's going to have the inspiration pulled from something, and everything's going to look similar to something. So I don't know, just being original is really hard.
And that's the key to, the key there though, is you got to hear your voice. Mm-hmm. You got to hear that whisper, and you can be inspired or you can be influenced by someone's work, but and you probably could do it better than the original artist, maybe, but the missing element is the energy of that artist. You could try to imitate me over and over, but it'll never be a McKay. Mm-hmm. Like it'll never be a Dan Flavin, or it'll never be a Basquiat. Mm-hmm. It's got the artist energy in there, and it's got to be pure. It's got to be your voice. Mm-hmm. So my message to the world is just slow down, get quiet, still your mind. Mm-hmm. So you can hear your whisper when it's there, and hear it, but you got to do something with it.
Yeah.
Don't sit on it, because if you don't do it, someone else will.
Mm-hmm. How interesting. A little kind of off topic, but I was on your website and I was looking at your Sounds of the Universe performance, where you open the different chakras of the body. For anybody that isn't familiar with that work, what are the benefits of opening your chakras, or what good does that do for you?
Well, we've got these chakras, and it's interesting. This was in the 1980s. I knew nothing about chakras. And this lady, she said, you're really closed here. Oh. And she took a crystal and went up and down. And when she went on various chakras, like my crown chakra, the crystal would move. When she got to the one that she said was closed, it just sat there. And she worked and opened it. It was my communication, my voice chakra had been. And I mean, the voice is, we all communicate in different ways, and art is nothing but a communication.
Yeah.
It's the way we communicate. I'm dyslexic, extremely dyslexic, and I grew up in a time where they didn't know what that was.
Oh, wow.
It was just hard to read. It was hard to see the world like anybody else, and then you hide it. Mm-hmm. It was like, wow, I don't want anyone to know that I'm having trouble here.
Right.
Now, thank goodness, I have a little grandson that's 10, and he's got it. And, you can go to special schools that are designed for those creative individuals, and communication. It was always harder for me to verbally communicate, and I can see why that
How interesting.
chakra was.
It was blocked and closed.
So did you feel like you instantly could get better at communicating when your chakra was open?
Well, it's interesting. I think it went to the art, because it was after that people started recognizing my art.
Wow.
And people started, I went for a period of time where, God, why am I doing this? No one is collecting it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it started communicating. Wow. And I was able to create that bridge. Not everybody gets my work to this day. Nobody's going to get everybody's work.
Right.
It's interesting. When you look back, and I've had a long time to look back now. I'm not young. It's interesting to see how people communicate. I look back at my collector base, and it's a different collector base than a friend of mine that lives down the road from me. I mean, he sells maybe 3 times the amount of art that I do. Oh. And he does very figurative stuff. Oh. And there's no figures in my work. So if you're looking for a figure, you're not going to get it. You're going to get an abstraction, but it's a quiet, expressive abstraction. I don't consider myself a minimalist because there's much more there. But I think there is an expression which I try to hide. I'm gay, and I lived in a closet for many, many years, and it's interesting that translucent, transparent canvas is almost a veil. I'm going to show you a little bit of me, or you can look and see a little bit of you. And the work is really about getting the viewer to go inside themselves.
I love that.
It really is. And if you can take time, slow down, don't give it just 3 seconds like a lot of people do in museums. Mm-hmm. Give it time, sit down. I think it can have an effect on your beingness. It can change the way you look at yourself. And what do we come here to really learn? I think we come here to learn how to love ourselves And when we can love ourselves, we can love others. And if you can get quiet enough, you can find that love within yourself.
That's beautiful. And what like a lifelong journey it is for a lot of people to get there.
Yeah. It's what we come here for.
Yeah.
What do we take with us? I mean, who's here right now? Who are the other dimensions? We forget that there are all these other dimensions vibrating all around us. And I think, bottom line, that's what I'm trying to do with the ethereal and the reflection and the light, is trying to reconnect with the universe on levels that we don't even see.
I bet that's
really beautiful.
Yeah,
thank
a
you.
great process to work through.
Yeah.
I can just feel like that'd be really good. Like, I feel grounded now.
Yeah.
And I just,
Gosh.
that's really nice. Okay, well, thank you so much for talking with us today. It was a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really.
I hope I gave you what you need or wanted. Not what you need, but what you wanted.
Absolutely.
Big difference.
Both.
Needed and
Amazing.
wanted.
Yeah.
How great.
Make some life decisions now. I
Yeah.
gotta have a philosophical crisis really quick, but it'll be good.
I'm going to go home and be real quiet today. I'm going to look within myself.
I'm excited now.
You know, that's the greatest gift anyone can give another person, is just a little portal into themselves. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming.